Okay, so we're going to do the story of Little Red Riding Hood. So, once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red riding cloak, so everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, she asked her mother if she could go to visit her grandmother, as it had been a while since they'd seen each other.
That's a good idea,
her mother said. So they packed a nice basket, and Little Red Riding Hood took it to her grandmother. When the basket was ready, the little girl put on her red cloak and kissed her mother goodbye.
Remember, go straight to Grandma's house.
Her mother cautioned.
Don't dawdle on the way, and please don't talk to strangers.
Don't worry, Mommy. I'll be extra careful.
But when Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the woods, she forgot her promise to her mother. She picked a few, watched the butterflies flit about for a while, listened to the frogs croaking, and picked a few more. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer day so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching out of the forest behind her. Suddenly, the wolf appeared.
What are you doing out here, little girl?
The wolf asked in a voice as friendly as he could muster.
I'm on my way to see my grandma, who lives right through the forest around the brook.
Little Red Riding Hood replied. She then realized how late she was and quickly excused herself, rushing down the path to her grandma's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. The wolf, a little out of breath from running, arrived at Grandma's and knocked lightly on the door.
Oh, thank goodness, dear. Come in, come in. I was worried sick that something had happened to you in the forest.
Said the grandma, thinking that the knock at the door was her granddaughter. The wolf let himself in, and poor Granny did not have time to say another word before he gobbled her up. The wolf let out a really satisfied burp and then poked through Granny's wardrobe to find a nightgown that he liked. He added a frilly sleeping cap and for good measure put on some of Granny's perfume behind his pointy ears. A few minutes later, Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his nose.
Who is it?
He called in a crackly voice.
It's me, Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, how lovely. Do come in, my dear.
Croaked the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she should scarcely recognize her grandmother.
Grandmother, your voice sounds so odd. Is something wrong?
Oh, I just have a touch of a cold.
Sorry, I squeaked the wolf, adding a cough at the end to prove his point.
But Grandmother, what big ears you have?
Better to hear you with, my dear.
But Grandmother, what big eyes you have?
The better to see you with, my dear.
But Grandmother, what big teeth you have?
The better to eat you with, my dear.
The wolf jumped out of the bed and began to chase the little girl. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realized that the person in the bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room, through the door, shouting as loudly as she could. A woodsman who was chopping logs nearby heard her cry and ran towards the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out the poor grandmother, who was a bit frazzled by the whole experience, but still in one piece.
Oh, Grandma, I was so scared.
Sobbed Little Red Riding Hood.
I will never speak to strangers or dawdle again.
Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother had a nice long chat. You having a chat? Yeah, okay. And they had some lunch and cake, just like you guys are. The important lesson of Little Red Riding Hood is you must always do as you are told and follow instructions. The end.